Have you ever finished a summer workout thinking, I absolutely crushed that today, only to wake up the next morning feeling like you got hit by a CitiBike? Yeah, that gap between what your brain thinks you did and what your body actually survived gets a whole lot wider when the temperature climbs. Welcome to summer training in New York City. Let's get into it. Welcome to Cue the Burn, where performance meets grit and recovery is just part of the show. I'm your host, Mark Lusk, manual physical therapist, former professional dancer, and lifelong athlete who's still chasing the fire well into my 50s. This podcast is all about the science, stories, and strategies that fuel high-performing bodies. Whether you're on stage, under a barbell, or navigating the grind of urban life, from injury prevention to mental resilience, we're diving deep into what it takes to stay strong, mobile, and ready for whatever role life casts you in. Cue the music, cue the lights, cue the burn. Let's go. Welcome back to Cue the Burn. I'm Mark Lusk, physical therapist, CrossFitter, and fellow New York City urban athlete. Summer in New York City is a strange beast. One minute you're jogging along the Hudson, the next you're trapped between glass buildings, concrete walls, and enough humidity to make your sunglasses fog up. Whether you're training for a race, playing tennis in Central Park, walking 18 holes on the golf course, or doing Murph outside your local CrossFit gym, summer creates unique challenges that many athletes don't see coming. Today, we're calling them out. All of them. The heat, yes, but also the rooftop parties. Weekends in the Hamptons, Fire Island, or down at the Jersey Shore. The cookouts. The 1 a.m. bedtimes, and what I like to call the full summer lifestyle ambush on your recovery. And spoiler alert, the big takeaway today is not drink more water. We're not getting off that easy today. Today, we're talking about how to train safely, recover effectively, and avoid the hidden traps that can derail your performance all summer long. Let's talk about what's really going on. One of my favorite things about summer in New York is that everyone comes alive. Summer arrives in an instant after what seems like an endless, punishing winter, and only about 2 weeks of spring. The parks are packed. The pickleball courts are buzzing. Golf courses are full. Runners are out on the West Side Highway. CrossFit classes spill out onto the sidewalk. The city becomes one giant outdoor gym, and it is magnificent. But every year, around July, I start hearing the same stories from patients. My Achilles started acting up. My shoulder has been nagging me for weeks. My back feels stiff every morning. I haven't changed anything in my training, but I just feel beat up. And that's when I ask, have you changed anything else? The answer is almost always yes. Because summer doesn't just change your workouts, it changes your entire lifestyle. And those lifestyle changes often have a bigger impact on your recovery than the workout itself. Here's a concept I use with patients, the recovery bucket. Every athlete has one. It's a collection of things that you need to recover from. Training fills it. Stress fills it. Poor sleep, alcohol, travel, heat fills it. That's a lot to recover from. The problem is that summer has a sneaky way of pouring into that bucket from 6 different directions at once, especially when you're not looking. And most athletes don't notice until it overflows. Then you've got a mess on your hands. Let's go through them one by one. The heat. Before we get to the sneaky stuff, let me give the heat its due, because I think most athletes underappreciate what's actually happening physiologically. When ambient temperature climbs above 90 degrees, and with New York's urban heat island effect, surface temperatures on asphalt and concrete can hit 130 to 150 degrees. Your body starts shunting blood to the periphery to cool itself down, which means less blood going to working muscles. Your heart rate runs higher for the same effort. Research from the Journal of Applied Physiology shows that performance decrements in the heat begin at core temperatures around 38.5 Celsius, which is about 101 degrees Fahrenheit. That's before you even feel hot. For my runners, your easy pace in summer should genuinely be easy. We're talking 60 to 90 seconds per mile slower than your winter easy pace, minimum. This is not weakness, this is physiology. Train by effort, not by GPS. For my tennis players, court surface temperatures on New York City's hard courts can exceed 140 degrees on a hot day. You're not just playing tennis, you're playing tennis in a cast iron skillet. Pre-cooling strategies, a cold towel on the back of your neck, cold water on the wrists, and yes, an ice slurry or slushy ingestion before play are legitimate evidence-based interventions. The British Journal of Sports Medicine found that ice slurry or slushy before exercise in the heat meaningfully delays core temperature rise. For my golfers, you're out there for 4 to 5 hours. Cumulative sun exposure and dehydration don't hit you on hole 7. They hit you on the drive home, or in my clinic on Monday. For my CrossFitters, outdoor WODs in summer are heat stress events. HIT in heat compounds metabolic heat production with environmental heat. Know your warning signs for rhabdomyolysis. That's the serious condition where muscle breakdown overwhelms the kidneys. Dark urine, disproportionate muscle pain, unusual fatigue. This is not the time to tough it out. For all my athletes, know the signs and symptoms of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. The primary difference is that heat exhaustion typically leaves mental status intact, whereas heat stroke causes severe dysfunction. With heat exhaustion, you may feel weakness, dizziness, headache or fatigue, nausea, have a very rapid or weak pulse. With heat stroke, you may be more confused, have an altered mental state, slurred speech, fainting, and a fast pulse and respiratory rate. The latter, heat stroke, is a very serious condition that requires immediate medical attention. Pitfall number 1, later bedtimes. Let's talk about sleep, because one of the greatest performance enhancers available to athletes is completely free, and most athletes treat it like it's optional. Summer daylight stretches later. Dinner starts later. You stay on the rooftop a little longer. You watch one more episode. Maybe the bedroom's warmer than usual. Suddenly, you're averaging 6 hours of sleep instead of 7.5. One night isn't a problem. 3 weeks of that? Different story. Sleep is where tissue repair occurs. It's where growth hormone is released. It's where your nervous system recovers and consolidates the movement patterns you trained. Research consistently shows that reducing sleep from 8 hours to 6 can nearly double athletic injury risk. And in summer heat, the problem compounds. Higher overnight temperatures in New York City apartments disrupt sleep architecture even when you're in bed for the right amount of time. Here's the thing I tell my patients. Most athletes blame their age when they feel beat up. And honestly, a lot of the time it's not age. It's accumulated recovery debt that started around Memorial Day. Clinical takeaway. Protect your sleep like you protect your training time. A 10 p.m. bedtime is a performance decision. A 1 a.m. bedtime is also a performance decision, just not the one you think you're making. Pitfall 2. Vacation travel. Here's a fun one. Vacation. We think of it as relaxation. Your body often disagrees. Air travel, long car rides, hotel beds, different pillows, different meal schedules, more walking, less mobility work, poor hydration. Even positive stress is still stress on your nervous system and tissues. And then you come back from 2 weeks in Europe and immediately jump into your normal training volume. Your tissues are sitting there saying, "Excuse me, we need a minute." But your brain is saying, "Let's go do Murph." That's where the trouble starts. Here's what the research actually says. Cardiovascular fitness begins declining in as little as 10 to 14 days of detraining. But in neuromuscular control, the stuff that keeps your joints stable and protected, degrades even faster. A 2021 study in the European Journal of Sports Science found significant neuromuscular performance decrements after just 2 weeks off in recreational athletes. The mistake isn't taking vacation. Please take your vacation. The mistake is assuming time away equals recovery and then coming back aggressive. One of the biggest things I see every September is the "I'm back and I'm making up for lost time" injury pattern. The fix? A 2-week ramp back when you return. Cut volume by 30 to 40%. Reintroduce intensity in week 2. Your September self will thank you. Pitfall 3, alcohol. Okay, let's talk about the elephant sitting beside the cooler. Alcohol. I'm not here to tell anyone they can't enjoy a summer beer, margarita, or a glass of rosé. Got my favorite summer adult beverages. Life is meant to be lived. But athletes should understand the actual trade-off because most people don't. Alcohol is a diuretic. In the summer, when you're already at a hydration deficit from sweating through a 90-degree tennis match, adding 3 or 4 drinks that evening pushes you into meaningful dehydration overnight, right when your body is supposed to be repairing tissue. Alcohol also disrupts REM sleep, even in more moderate amounts. Research published in Alcoholism, Clinical and Experimental Research, found that 2 drinks before bed reduced slow-wave sleep, the most restorative phase, by up to 20%. That's the sleep where growth hormone peaks. That's your recovery sleep. This is partly why I had to get rid of my Whoop fitness tracker. I'd wake up in the morning and my recovery would be in the toilet. I hadn't even entered that single glass of wine from the night before into my journal, but it just knew. And that's from the biometrics. And for the 40-plus crowd specifically, alcohol inhibits muscle protein synthesis, competing metabolically with the protein you just ate for dinner. When muscle protein synthesis is already slightly less efficient than it was at 28, this matters more than you might think. What makes all of this tricky is that most athletes don't notice the effect after 1 drink. They notice it after 4 weekends in a row. It's death by 1,000 happy hours. You don't wake up injured, you simply recover a little less effectively each week until something starts complaining, usually an Achilles. Oh, and shoulders love to send complaint letters too. Pitfall 4, barbecues. Summer eating is one of my favorite topics because nobody thinks it matters until they're wondering why their workouts feel terrible. You start the day with coffee, skip breakfast because you slept in, grab a hot dog at the cookout, maybe a burger, a handful of chips, a cookie, another drink, then decide to play 3 sets of tennis at 4 p.m. It's a bold strategy, New York. Your body doesn't care whether calories came from a cookout or a meal prep container, but it absolutely cares whether you have enough protein, fluids, and carbohydrates available to support activity and recovery. Research from the Journal of Nutrition found that muscle protein synthesis is maximized when protein intake is distributed across meals at around 30 to 40 grams per sitting, not front-loaded at one meal and completely absent for the rest of the day. 3 weeks of weekend nutrition like this, layered on top of poor sleep and dehydration, and your recovery is legitimately impaired, even if your weekday nutrition is dialed in. My simple cookout strategy: eat your protein first. Burgers are actually fine, 2 of them even. It's the 2 bites of everything carb heavy and no real protein because there's so much food pattern that derails people. Hydrate throughout the day, enjoy the celebration, and your tendons will forgive you. Your tendons, by the way, do not understand celebrations. Pitfall 5, the weekends away. Here's the big one: weekends. Many New York City athletes spend Monday through Friday sitting at a desk, and then Saturday becomes a long run, a round of golf, a tennis match, a high rock simulation, and a CrossFit partner workout, sometimes all in the same weekend. I call this vacation athlete syndrome. You try to squeeze 7 days of activity into 2 days. And the issue isn't intensity, the issue is dosage. Tissues adapt to what they're consistently exposed to, not what you ask them to survive once every Saturday. Research on training is consistently clear. Frequency of stimulus matters as much as intensity. If you're active and structured Monday through Friday, but essentially sedentary every weekend, you get a very different physiological outcome than the person doing more moderate training 6 days a week. The body loves consistency. It tolerates heroics, occasionally, not 6 weekends in a row. The flip side, and I'll always push back on the always be training mentality here. For athletes 40 plus, structured rest is a legitimate performance tool. The issue isn't resting on weekends. The issue is not planning for it. If you know you're going away, Reduce midweek intensity slightly so you're not accumulating a load to rest imbalance that your Achilles has to pay for later. And even on weekends away, just 20 minutes of intentional movement, a swim, a walk, some body weight work, preserves neuromuscular patterns and keeps tissue hydrated and mobile. I call it the non-negotiable 20. It's not training, it's maintenance. And it makes a real difference Monday morning. Pitfall 6. Social events. Finally, and this is the connective tissue between all the other pitfalls, pun intended, social events. Concerts, weddings, travel, family gatherings, weekend trips, late nights, early mornings. The summer calendar fills up fast, and before long, your recovery becomes fragmented. The mobility work gets skipped. The strength sessions become random. Hydration is an afterthought, sleep is inconsistent. The challenge isn't any one event, it's that structure disappears. And structure is protective. Research in chronobiology, the science of biological rhythms, shows that irregular sleep-wake timing disrupts cortisol rhythms, growth hormone release, and immune function, independent of total sleep duration. It's not just how much sleep you get, it's when you sleep and wake. An irregular schedule at the same total hours is a different stressor than a consistent one. The injury isn't random. It's often the final vote in a long series of small decisions that all seemed fine in the moment. My recommendation? Anchor 2 or 3 non-negotiables. Protect your morning workout slot or your recovery ritual the way you'd protect a meeting with your most important client. Everything else can flex. But if you let summer eat every anchor point, September becomes a visit to my clinic. And while I genuinely love seeing you, I'd rather see you at your best. Here's the good news. You don't have to choose between enjoying summer and performing well. You just need to understand that recovery becomes more valuable when life gets fuller. The athletes who thrive all summer aren't necessarily the fittest. They're the ones who stay the most consistent when everyone else gets distracted. And that's where today's Burn Toolkit comes in. Here are 5 quick strategies to help you train smarter this summer. Number 1, train by effort, not by numbers. Your fitness isn't disappearing in the heat. The environment changed, not your capability. So use RPE, rate of perceived exertion, or heart rate as your guide. If your heart rate is running 15 beats higher than normal at your easy pace, that's real data. Slow down. The fitness is there. Your body is just doing extra work to keep you alive at the same time. Number 2, start hydrating earlier than you think. Don't begin hydrating when you're thirsty. That means you're already behind. Start 60 to 90 minutes before training. Think preparation, not emergency response. Number 3, replace electrolytes, not just water. For efforts longer than 60 minutes in the heat, water alone can actually dilute your electrolyte balance. Sodium, magnesium, potassium, these matter. An electrolyte drink or tablet is not a gimmick in New York summer. It's a real clinical recommendation. Number 4, respect recovery like it's part of the program. Sleep, nutrition, and routine are not soft variables. They are the program. 2 nights of poor sleep before a hard, long run is a different workout than 2 nights of solid recovery before the same run. Protect the inputs. Number 5, use the 2-day rule. If soreness, elevated resting heart rate, unusual joint pain, or fatigue persists more than 48 hours after a workout, your body is leaving you a voicemail. Listen to it. Don't send it to voicemail a 3rd time. That's when it starts texting your PT. Summer training isn't about proving how tough you are. It's about proving how smart you can be. The strongest athletes aren't the ones who ignore the heat, push through the fatigue, and grind through July and August on 6 hours of sleep and cookouts. The strongest athletes are the ones who adapt, who understand what's happening in their body and make choices accordingly. 17 years of treating athletes in the city has taught me one thing above all else. The people who stay healthy through the summer aren't the most disciplined, they're the most aware. They know what's coming. They plan for it. And they don't let "it's summer, we're supposed to have fun" turn into "I'm in PT for 6 weeks because I came back from the Hamptons and immediately ran 12 miles." Train with patience and recover with purpose. Stay in the game long enough to actually enjoy the results. Because the goal isn't to just survive the summer, it's to come out stronger on the other side. And remember, the fire doesn't go out in summer, it just burns differently. I'm Mark Lusk at MVMT Physical Therapy, and this is Cue the Burn. As always, check out our social media at MVMTPT and our blog and website at www.mvmtpt.com for more information. Please subscribe, like, and review our podcast. Make sure you share it with your friends and colleagues, especially that one friend who thinks rosé at midnight before a 7 a.m. run is a solid training strategy. Now, get outside and play.